This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, the goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance.
Welcome to episode 84 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast, a live post-match after Wycombe. If the episode released earlier today was the warm-up, then this is certainly the cool-down, as our panel today...
Has it finished yet?
...contains the calmest, ice-in-the-veins bunch of cats you will hear anywhere, and a bumper panel it is too. Today I'm Matt Shaw, and with me is the goose to my ice man. It's Richard Goosemarler, someone whose name doesn't need a cool or an ice pun, but we'll give him one anyway. It's Brady Jack Frost. A chap who likes to go out coaching or to IKEA in freezing temperatures on a Saturday. It's Dan Sub-Zero Porritt. And finally, as I run out of material, quite sharpish, making it the 5 degrees tonight. And the jam-packed panel is Simon Krampus Copeland. So good evening, gentlemen. Shall we end it there?
Yep, nice to speak to you all. If you're struggling to sleep, just watch rerun.
Yeah, that's certainly a cure for insomniacs out there. So Wycombe Wanderers, I don't think we'll spend long on this, to be honest. So we'll invite comments from you guys online that are joining us online. Let us know what you thought of the game, or don't, because there's probably not a lot to say, really.
We should have had a penalty. We should have had a penalty, I'm telling you that. He would have penalty that. That would have penalty. He would have penalty. He would have penalty. The guy, he was just like, he had a glove, he just went like that, his glove. It's shocking. He would have penalty.
I know we'll get to it. I thought the referee was weak throughout. I thought Wycombe obviously had a plan, which was to rough us up, strong arm. I don't give them any criticism for that. You know, you use what you've got, and you know they don't have a lot of money, a low wage bill, so they have to do what they have to do, and that's fair play to me. We didn't really stand up to it that great. I don't think we do stand up to bullying very well. But the 2 men at the back, or 3 men at the back, Schindler and Stearman had a switch around, didn't they, at half time? I thought they stood up to it reasonably well. A couple of other players I just didn't think fancied the rough and tumble of Adams Park, if I'm honest. But 0-0, you probably take that, do you reckon, Kosi?
Yeah, you always want a bit more, don't you?
Yeah.
It depends how your bread's buttered, really. I mean, you can look at it, we let 4 goals in on Saturday, albeit against a better team. You know, we've kept a clean sheet tonight. I must admit, though, mate, when I saw the team line up at, 6 o'clock, I was thinking, yeah, we're going to win this. The only change I probably made different would have been Warding for Campbell. But apart from that, I was pretty pleased with it. And, yeah, I mean, any quality I thought we showed, but we didn't show it enough. I'm a bit disappointed second half, how we fizzled out, really. I'm a bit worried. To be honest, I think another 15 minutes of the game, I think we might have lost. They just seem to get on top. I mean, God, Matt, you've got to say it, but I mean, I love Akin Fenway, the man.
We all love Akin Fenway, don't we? But
mate, his energy and enthusiasm and everything. He's 38 years old, man. It's like he shouldn't even be on that pitch.
He's old enough to be on this podcast. To be fair to him, isn't he? He's you know, he's
he gives everything, man. He gives everything for the shirt. And there's some guys in our team. I don't think if they'd have give everything like Akin Fenway tonight, we'd have won. I don't want to point players out because people can make the decisions out for themselves. But mate, he just bashed into everyone. He does what he does, mate. I love his enthusiasm for the game, and I just wish we could have sprinkled that on some of ours. But I didn't feel that we were going to win. I think faded away a little bit. I were hoping he's going to come strong maybe second half, but it's difficult because our bench there's not much to kind of bring on that's any different. I thought Mbedza were our best player. I thought as best threat. I thought Johnny Ogg, trying to pass to blue shirts all night. His distribution was abysmal tonight. Naby Sarr, blow me neck. The guy is like box office, isn't he? I mean, the first half, it would have good effort. Wycombe guys didn't have a clue that it hit post. They were commentated on my TV. But second half, he channels his in an episode, didn't he? And it was just chaos when it hit box. And yeah,
I would just say it's unorthodox.
Oh man, and that as well. But I don't know what you guys thought, but I'm happy. I'm probably happy for a point now, having seen the game. But before it, I wanted all three really.
We seems a very lethargic performance. I know we've said on here a few times, especially you, Kosi, about the amount of games that we're having to play in short spaces of time, and there's not much opportunity. That, again, as we've said before, for any sort of coaching in between games. It's you're just playing. You know, you have a day to recover, a little bit of a warm down. You know, maybe tomorrow, and then you can't. What can you say to change that before the next match? And we've got a small squad as it is. It's not full of quality throughout. And I think we've seen certainly tonight that the games they're coming thick and fast, and we don't have the sort of. The people say that we were a fit team, but tonight it seemed very lethargic. Some of the passing looked really slow. Johnny Ogg, for example, he seemed to be just passing directly to him. Now, whether or not that's just it's not really a lack of ability, because they weren't even hard passers. They were straight passers, and he's just playing it straight to them.
Matt Glennon alluded to exceedingly long grass left by Wycombe on the pitch, but again, you know, you've got to play with what you're given out you.
Well, you have, and I know we've seen people sort of commenting on changing up the style and stuff like that. And all right, yeah, you can argue that. But if he's wanting to implement Plan A, we've got to play Plan A better. You know, at the moment, I think it's probably a case of we haven't got the players to play Plan A. And if a manager's got a style, you know, that's the style that we're going to play. And you can't keep saying, oh, we need to change our style, because the Plan A is not implemented within the squad enough to then be able to go to a Plan B. It seems to be sticking with Plan A, and that's how it's going to be. But, you know, if the quality is not there, or it's quite an intense style of play, isn't it? You know, you've got to be really, really fit. And tonight we just looked, you know, seemed to be sort of playing at about 85%.
I'll tell you what, though, we had 3 or 4 great balls in. I think one for Diakabi, amazingly, first half, but and Benza especially. The quality were there then. Where were our striker? Mate?
It's on my agenda here, Kosi, and we'll jump to it now. But I haven't Benza.
One of them will win.
2 whip balls in, and Campbell stood on his heels on the edge of the box. Not once did he attack the 6-yard box that you would expect a goal scorer to do, and that was a disappointing facet for me. What about you, Simon? Welcome back after on and off, aren't you? Like a bit like Town's form at the minute. I don't think there's any correlation yet, so we don't know whether to get you on or not the podcast, you know, just to see if we can secure a win or anything. But yeah, how did you see this then? So for me, we've sort of alluded to, we struggle with the tactics of Wycombe. The referee's not really helped, but you don't expect help really from the referee. Town, for me, there were goals in this game for both teams. I know it's 0-0. XGs I'm not going to talk about this week because they're probably obviously going to be very low, but like I say, there were whipped balls in the box and players just aren't attacking them. And same for Wycombe as well. They had a couple of opportunities as well whereby the balls come into the box and a couple of them stood on the heels. There's one in the second half where it fell to the right winger and he kind of just sat off it and then turned around and crossed it again. How did you see the game? Goals in it for you, or?
I think if the game had gone
move on.
I think if the game had gone longer, 15, 20 minutes, I think there could have been goals at either end. For me, it was a bit of a reflection of how I thought the season might be when it kicked off back in August, September, whenever it was. I kind of thought, looking at Town's squad at that time, that we'd perhaps struggle to just kind of create and score goals. That hasn't been the case really prior to today. It's been keeping them out the other end has been the problem. But I think your kind of observation around not getting the right people on the end of certain crosses at kind of various times was quite key. I kind of echo and agree with your point around Campbell being missing. And I think kind of what really disappointing, we've got kind of lots of games in short succession, as Pozza mentions. You've got Phillips on the bench for the first time today. And I agree with people like Matty Daly as well. I think tonight would have been a good opportunity to kind of maybe throw him on and see what they can do. I think maybe he kept Campbell on for his abilities in the defensive third and kind of perhaps his knowledge kind of defending set pieces, etc. But for me, kind of he was offering nothing as an outlet, and I'd quite like to see them have a go kind of with 15, 20 minutes remaining and see if they could perhaps do something a bit different. But not to be. we take a point, I guess, and we go again away on Saturday. But I don't think many clubs will look forward to going to Wycombe. But at the same time, I think Wycombe are going to be thereabouts in the relegation zone, and teams will finish above us. We'll probably come away with a win, whereas we've only been able to muster a draw.
Brady, you recently wrote an article about 5 substitutes, which you can see on takesthatchance.com. We only used 2 today. Did that surprise you, considering the flood of games coming up?
Yeah, it surprised me because we just looked sloppy, and I think it needed changing. I mean, we've kind of alluded to here, but Kieran Phillips, we've been crying out for him to be on the bench. He's on the bench. It's not working. I think Campbell's been knackered. And in a game like that where there's not a lot of quality, you got a striker. I know it's not as competitive a level, but guy's got 10 goals in 6 games. Like, even just chuck him on. It was just dire. It was a dire game. I feel sorry for anyone who had to pay for that. That was shocking. I think
I was sat there grimacing right now.
Yeah, it's all right, mate. Yeah, we'll do a GoFundMe for you afterwards.
I'm going to email him and tell him my stream stopped halfway through and see if we can get a refund.
You've admitted it live now,
said it live, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think we needed to change it up. I don't know about you guys, but I thought the international break would be better for us. 2 weeks on the grass, implementing Carlos's new methods, and we look worse. We look worse since we've come back. I think. Do
you think, Brady? I don't think we've been far away both games. We could have had 4-6 points.
I think we'll come on to Stoke, but I think we'll come on to Stoke. But I think that we had a better chance of winning that game. But that was terrible defensively, but we just didn't look like scoring for me, mate. Like, I know I thought Mbenza was our best player going forward, put some nice passes, but I can't really think of a chance we had apart from it in the post. Like, it was a dire game. We had the Wycombe fan on, George from the Wycombe Way, and he was happy for them to play Route 1. But I've just seen Tom Slack, who said in the comments he thought the Sky did a good job of holding the ball, lots of possession. It was, we know we're going to get that, but Jesus Christ, that was awful to watch, and it nearly came off them.
When you're playing against a team that plays long ball and very physical like Wycombe, if we're gonna play a style of play where we pass it around, quick triangles and stuff like that, you've got to hold on to the ball a hell of a lot better than what we did tonight. Because as people are alluding to what you just said there, as soon as you lose possession, you're gonna have to really work hard to get it back. Not just from a tactical point of view, but you've got to be strong. And also, if balls up in air for 20-30 seconds at a time, there must have been about 6 times tonight where it were just headers.
Yeah,
it was heading it backwards and forwards, and if you had all that time, you're losing 5 or 6 minutes out of your game just because folk are heading it about. You've got to get someone who can bring that ball down quickly. Find a yard and play a ball, and we don't have that. We just don't have that in the side. We do look good, and I mentioned this a while ago, but we look good on what I'd call the rehearsed play. So what we do in training. So it's, player A passes to player B, to C, to D, and he runs there, and he runs there, and he runs there. I think what we're really struggling with at the moment is we get the ball, we win a tackle, and then it's almost like we can't really play from this situation. It needs to go back to point A, if that makes sense, and then we play A, B, C, D, E, F like we're doing.
If you think back to David Wagner, that happened quite a lot, where they just knock it straight back to Danny Ward, and the crowd would go mental, wouldn't they? Because
there's no one who can sort of pick it up and carry it 10-15 yards, and a couple of runners.
No X-factor player is that sort of in the middle.
Not particularly. I mean, Aitin did well tonight. He played a couple of almost balls where they sort of almost got there. But apart from him, there's no one who gets the ball and you think, oh, go on, we might do something now.
Well, he's injured, Pippa, mate. Pippa's your man. He's injured. I mean, look what we've had last 2 games. Duane, not in the same league, mate. Tonight, Bakuna, you thought he did all right, Matt. I thought he were.
It was okay. Yeah, I thought it was okay.
But you know what? Danny Ward Danny Ward should have started tonight for me. I can't understand it. Campbell did not fall at Stoke. And tonight, he won that header from that. All right, maybe he should have done better, to be honest, with that header. But I just think in that first half, then whip balls, I think he'd have got on the end. I think it's a different outlet to Campbell. I was surprised, and as usual, Diakabi did his, oh my God, am I being subbed? I'm not happy, and walked off. Took about 10 minutes to get off. But I just think Ward gives us something a little bit different. Maybe I'm just clutching, to be honest with you, but I just thought he looked dangerous to me, and things started to look a bit more positive. But
Ward moves in the box. He's brought him on left wing. He's brought him on left wing every time he's come on since he came back from injury, Danny Ward, which is a strange one. I'm going to read some of the comments out on YouTube now. I think what we'll do is we'll look to. I've run out of material already on that Wycombe game. It's been and gone for me.
But we talk about Schofield, Matt.
Huh?
Yeah.
Kosi jumped over the agenda, didn't you? I'm blaming Kosi for my bad presenting. But yeah, the changes were the Schofield. Apart from that little hiccup at the start, which he got away with, he didn't really have a lot to do, did he? And to be fair, the high balls that he took, he did quite well. But he's got a good throw on him. I'll give him that.
I thought he got better as he went along, Matt. I thought he was a bit shaky at the start. Obviously, the very start, but he would have been. Yeah, but
I was pleased to see him play as well. I thought he did all right, and Schofield will be in most weeks for me if he's physically ready. I like Ryan Schofield. He's a smashing lad as well. So you know what, Huddersfield fan. So you always want that player to do well and succeed, don't you? So I'm fully behind Ryan Schofield 100%. I hope he does.
Schindler were a scare, wasn't it? That were horrible. I think he was puking up by advertising boards and that. It looked like to me at half time.
Concussion, maybe.
6 minutes at end. It should have been about 15.
I thought we were going to be late. The game was still going on when we started this.
It's +6.
Like a game of rugby league, that wasn't it, Kosi? Finishing at 10 o'clock.
Both keepers went down. It just summed up the game, didn't it? We're fast, wasn't it, at times?
I don't know about. He just sat there. I don't think he was even injured. I don't know if it was tactical to get some instructions on, but he just seemed to sit there and all of a sudden he jumped up. I don't know if someone.
He almost did a kick up, didn't he? Almost kicked up onto his feet like he were wrestling or something. It was amazing.
I don't know if something went wrong with his boots or something like that, and he wasn't actually injured. It was just a weird match.
You know, as a goalkeeper, sometimes if your gloves are on and you've got them taped, you get someone else to do your shoelaces. So when he was down, I thought, is he been a bit of a shit house and getting someone to come and do a shoelaces for him? But you know, I've done that plenty of times. I'll be honest.
You know what though, with the keeper thing, I'm a bit of a softy me. I'm a kind of a people person. Felt for Pereira.
I did.
But I watched that press conference yesterday, and I thought Pereira's not playing today. So I really didn't think he didn't back him. He didn't back him, did Carlos? He were pretty pissed off him, I'm being honest with you, from Saturday. So it wasn't the biggest surprise to me when that was announced today. But where does that leave him confidence-wise? It must. I mean, obviously, had a shocking game, but wow, I don't know. Can it come back?
I didn't like that signing at the time. It just didn't make any sense to me, the Pereira signing.
Can he come back from it, Matt? Has he played his last game for Huddersfield Town, mate?
Yeah, of course he can come back from it. Of course he can, yeah. He just needs a bit. He's low on confidence, isn't he? He's had a bad year at Hearts. And you look at the goal Stoke scored. I know we'll come on to Stoke in a second after I read some of the comments out. But the goal Stoke scored and the first one, he's very unlucky, actually. Potentially saves that first goal and Naby Sarr pops his head up.
I think he's getting as bad as Pereira's. Matt's Wi-Fi.
Oh, it's my connection.
Dropped it. He's dropped the mic.
I hope it's still going.
Make a bridge. Connection unstable. Connection unstable.
But I just think Pereira, if he'd been replaced by Emer, then you could think. I mean, even then, if it was me, I'd be like spewing. But I know I wouldn't have had a good game on Saturday. But the fact that the third choice guy, who's a kid who's never featured, has just leapfrogged him. You know,
I don't think he plays for Huddersfield again, personally. I think he goes back to Man United in January and probably gets another loan deal and is released from them at the end of the season. I don't see the value in him staying with Huddersfield Town. Schofield keeps his shirt for Saturday's game, and then presumably after that, him and Mike coming back in contention, and it's a toss-up between them two based on how Schofield performs maybe on Saturday. But I just don't see where Pereira fits in again now going forward. And Matt, you were right. It didn't make sense at the time. I don't think we would have signed him had Schofield not got injured. And kind of
it seemed panic to me.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and maybe they should just let Chapman have a go on the bench and kind of if then kind of the worst came to the worst, gone into the loan market at that time.
To be honest, in hindsight, they probably needed him just in case Heyman's quite far back, I think, in development terms. And I know I went a bit often, a bit off air, a bit of a dodgy connection. But
what I'd say though, Matt, is that I think what's even more damning for Pereira is Hamer, maybe not as equally a bad game because that Stoke game was a shocker for him, but he had a couple of stinkers at the start of the season, but he didn't kind of get dropped there. It was like Pereira never came in. As soon as he's made his headers out, he goes. I don't think he plays against. I agree with you, mate.
There's one error I want to talk about that he makes, which really sort of infuriated me on Saturday, and Stearman seemed to get a lot of the blame for it, which I thought was unnecessary. But surprise, I didn't think Stearman should get blame. You know, I'm all of a sudden turning to his family. But it was the third goal, the one where it goes through his legs. I was saying before my internet went crazy. Was I as a goalkeeper coach, you teach kids to make, to bridge that gap between your knee and your leg, and his legs are wide open. It's really appalling technique. And before that, you'll probably remember there's a shot that goes low and it squirms under his body and goes out for a corner. That could have gone in the net easy. He had absolutely no control over that. It was, again, diabolical technique. And I don't want to hammer him because it's a debut. He's nervous. He's not had a good loan last year. So I did feel for him, like you, Kosi. I felt bad for him. But the third goal is, for me, really disappointing because he's supposed to be able to play out from the back. That's supposed to be his strength. He's a footballing goalkeeper. And the first pass he makes is to Stearman, and he plays it behind Stearman in the penalty box, which means Stearman's got to control the ball with his back to 3 Stoke players, which is a really poor pass when you're under no pressure. And then Stearman turns, and Stoke have the high press. They've got 3 players that side of the pitch. It can pass to Dehaney, who Dehaney didn't want it, to be blunt. So Stearman goes back so the play can come out the other side, and then it gives it back. There's a touch, probably an unnecessary touch from Pereira, and then instead of going wide, he's got 2 players in the middle, which is risky, and then he shanks the pass straight to Campbell instead of picking out either Eiting or Hogg. And that for me was just the icing on the cake.
As well, it's the timing of the goal, man. It's kind of on the stroke of half time. It's been a bit of an up and down half. Just put your foot through the ball, man. I appreciate
it's what Ben Hamer does
to play and that sort of thing, but the kind of 45 minutes, just put it into Rose Z, regroup.
That's what Ben Hamer does. Ben Hamer clips it wide, doesn't he? Every time if Ben Hamer gets that, he just clips it wide, and if it goes out of play, it goes out of play. No big deal. You can reset, but yeah. So I hope he comes back, because I do, because you like a Rocky story, don't you? Coming back against the odds. So I hope he does. But that was
I tell you,
not a good start. Not a good start.
I mean, it doesn't.
So I hope he doesn't.
I'll tell you what.
Si's not the people person we are, Kosi, obviously.
I'll tell you another guy who failed his audition, mate. D'Amico Duane. He were poor. You know what, Carlos? Wasn't it great though to see whether you agreed or disagreed? This were a manager with big balls tonight, huge balls, mate. He's got to use 9 games in 31 days and what have you that we've got ahead. He's not bothered. He's like, out you go, out you go. I think there were some real messages sent out tonight. And okay, we didn't even. I mean, how bad's that for Duane? We didn't even have a right back, really. Bakuna makeshift, but he's not good enough to be in. I think maybe a few of them players who thought a bit were comfy and that I'll get games. They're going to have to think again now.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Dehaney. I'm not going to dive into another player. I've already had a go at Pereira there, so I'm not going to dive in. But I'm not a big fan of D'Amico Dehaney. I just find that when you're up against it, he tends to evaporate a little bit. Whereas if you're on the ball, he's pretty good in the final third. Is D'Amico Dehaney, but as a defender, he's not there for me. But
tonight's game's all gone back to it. I thought at start Toffolo were going to have a field day up that left, but they soon changed their mind. Did Wycombe, didn't they? And kind of doubled up, and we were struggling.
They were decent, Wycombe, in defence. Yeah. Brady, you were watching. You spoke to George, and Wycombe flooded the middle of the pitch. So what Stoke and Wycombe did against us, they really flooded that defensive midfield area. So when we play, Pause, as well, transitioning from the the defensive third to the middle third, it's usually Hogg is your link player in there that comes in, or Eiting sometimes drops in. Every time they dropped in, Wycombe had 2 players that came narrowed off. Stoke did the same. They played a 4-2-3. One of those 3 players narrowed off every time into the middle. And then as soon as Hogg got the ball, you saw with the second, I think it was the second goal that Tyrese Campbell scored, Hogg got stripped of it. Again tonight, Wycombe tried to do the same thing. They narrowed off, and Hogg has been targeted now. That's a worry for me, is that Jonathan Hogg's not the most comfortable player on the ball, and that's 2 games in a row where his lack of comfort on the ball has been exposed, in front of the back 4. So that's something we're going to have a think about as well. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I think, like you say, Hogg's put in a couple of bad performances, and like you say, I think we're talking about the Stoke game, the manager said, Michael O'Neill, that they put Nick Powell on him. And like you say, when they stop Hogg, it seems to stop our rhythm. I think Wycombe were really, just quickly touched on the Wycombe game, I think they were really good at stopping us from getting any rhythm. We were sloppy. We couldn't string 2 passes together half the time. But I think it was quite interesting, and we kind of touched on it there. But like Kosi said, I think we're learning a lot about Cobra, and I'm surprised Pereira didn't start. I'm surprised Dehaney, didn't get another go, and he's not afraid to make changes. I think I don't know if it's a pattern or maybe it's just the last couple of games, but I don't think he's that good with his subs, or he doesn't seem to trust his subs. I think in the Stoke game, he brought on 2 players at the 88th minute, and he's only brought 2 on tonight when you can pick 5. And I don't. Maybe it's because he wants to give someone 90 minutes and see how they get on, but I don't know. It needs changing up.
I picked up on that, Brady, and I think it's something that both me and yourself have talked about before. But do you think that is possibly due to the quality of the squad and the weakness within it? Because with all due respect to those on bench, it's a fresh face. But is anyone coming on better than what's already on there or going to make any more impact? I think
you could just argue Phil
Hodgkinson that he says, this is a better squad than what we had last season. And if he thinks that, then, to be honest, the guy's in cloud cuckoo land because it's nowhere near as good. We shipped out some players we've got rid of some players, the bad eggs and the high earners and all that sort of stuff. But the players that we've brought in, all right, you could argue that the better player for player, but as a squad as a whole, for me, absolutely nowhere. There's no one on that bench apart from Danny Ward tonight that I was looking at and thought, do you know what? I'd put him on and I'd do this, or I'd bring him on and I'd just change formation slightly, or I'd bring him on and just ask him to fit into this little hole. And there's none of it. Like Matt said, he's brought Danny Ward on, who, by the way, was signed as who was signed as the main target for the summer. Comes on and plays on the left wing when he's actually a striker. Why not put him up front? I think
you might be right there, Pozza. It's just, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I think we kind of had a bit of I don't think we're going to have a terrible season, but I think you kind of seen how good Corberan's a coach by being where we are, having those surprise, those good wins against Swansea and Derby and Forest. And, not to be that guy to be negative, but we kind of said at the start of the season, we weren't thinking it was going to be a good season. I had them down for 21st. And, I think I'm worried about December because, we put at the moment, we're playing a game every 3 and 4 days. And I think this is where the quality of the squad, like we've said, it's worse. And I think it's really showing because, like you say, you can make 5 subs. I know it's crazy, but if you're only bringing on 2, what does that say? I think people look tired out there tonight. I think stuff needed changing, and it's
far away.
Really, both games. Sorry, because about the Johnny Hogg conversation is an interesting one. We signed a guy, obviously, kind of at the back end of the transfer window. I'm going to pronounce his name incorrectly, but Alex Vallejo, is that right?
Vallejo, yeah.
Kosi, you might know more than me, Kosi. This is a guy now who's kind of come in and has been around the squad, I think, for a few weeks, but hasn't yet made the bench in either of the last 2 kind of championship games. Now, from what I understand, Corberan said he needs more time in training, kind of more time to understand the style. But for me, that rings alarm bells. This is a guy we've brought in on a 1-year contract. We're already not played since March. We're already in November. He's not going to be around the squad anytime soon. You kind of sat there scratching your head thinking, what's the point? What is the point? I hope I'm proven wrong.
There's a lot of games, mate.
Isn't it? We're in November already. If you've kind of gone out of your way to bring in a kind of a player to kind of compete with Johnny Hogg on a bench where you can now name, is it 9 subs and make 5? In fact, he doesn't even get on that bench for me. There's a little bit of a.
But it's like maybe what Pozza says, Si, though. Maybe he doesn't trust these players yet. I don't think it's a popularity contest for Corberan, just bringing guys on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes and stuff like that as well. We've been saying.
If you're going to sign someone on a 1-year contract, Cos, and then not trust them for kind of 3 months, whatever it might be, you kind of
he played Spanish second division, man. He hasn't played since March. He's not as if he's ready to go.
He's not B-team games, isn't he?
Same with they
both need more.
Kieran Phillips could have been a guy to come on, but I think we wanted Campbell. Campbell staying on. I was shocked at that.
I'll be honest. I wanted Kieran Phillips to feature weeks ago, but I just didn't feel like that tonight was the game for him. He's a very sort of slightly built young lad, and I think they'd have eaten him alive, to be honest. And I think it'd have. I don't think that was his game. I think maybe the next one. Middlesbrough's tough as well, isn't it? But,
physical, isn't
it? Physical again, yeah. So maybe going forward, he will get a chance. And I think just being on the bench and seeing how people prepare will do him good. But
I don't think we were far away.
Read some of these comments out, Kosi, before control. People are like, why are you not reading these out? So
because of this gobshite.
Well, 5 gobshites, didn't they? To be fair, so
could have been 6.
Tom Slack,
one bottle there.
Yeah. Tom Slack says, my daughter had a better game than Diakabi tonight. She's 4 and in bed asleep and never played football. I find that difficult to argue with. Arthur Difford said a few positives, but thought Isaac and Benza looked sharp. A few nice passes and dribbles. Come on, miles from where he started at Huddersfield. I like to hear positives on a night like this. We've won 1 in 7, so positives are always good for me, Arthur. So thanks for that. HTFC says, I feel dejected after that. Sorry, but half these players aren't good enough. Simple as that. Phil Marston says, what a side Wycombe are from front to back, side of the world. side of world-class ball players. What an attacking side. How we managed to scrape a draw from that game is beyond me. I don't know if Phil's been sarcastic there. Tom Flack says...
I've had a few drinks.
Tom mentions about the 2 subs, which we brought up. Leo says we have to realise we have a very average squad. A few ups and downs. We've covered that one as well. Agree with that, Lee. Matthew Hepworth says, what does Matty Daly do to get a chance? And we've asked that question a couple of times, haven't we? And for me, when I've seen Matty Daly, doesn't quite influence the game enough, but it's coming to the stage now where you're thinking, do you know what? There's a lot of, even though we've had an international break, there's still players look a bit ploddy out there, and maybe Matty Daly is someone to freshen this up for 20, 30 minutes. So I'd like to see a little bit more of him. I know Neil has been banging the Daly drum, if you like, on a weekly basis. You guys, Daly, more game time?
Yeah, I think so. But again, it's like, I think what's quite interesting about these young players, they've barely played like any games. I mean, like, I saw someone comment on it. Dehaney's, he's a young player, but he's not he's 22. Like, he should be playing regular games.
Daly needs to learn for me. I think if you look at Lewis O'Brien,
Bradford, send him to Bradford.
Well, Lewis O'Brien
helping them out at the minute. I'm loving where they are.
Lewis O'Brien benefited so much. He played week in, week out at Bradford, and he came back into that Huddersfield kind of squad and was kind of a regular, and kind of feel
send him quick because they're in National League next year. Quick, get him there now.
Well, I think he should have gone out in January last year when we brought Smith Rowe in. Maybe I think he was injured at the time, wasn't he? He also hasn't gone out yet. Hopefully we'll do in January, because I just can't see him featuring for us too much at the moment.
He had a little renaissance, did Dehaney, when Cowley I think he had a word with him during lockdown, and he came back after lockdown and looked so much better than he had previously, where he'd been out to Boston and not really pulled up any trees last season. And he did put in a couple of good performances, but he seems to have just dipped back to where he was now, just from seeing him.
Matt, I think the problem is Pippa's set the bar.
Yeah, he's quality.
There, mate. And Bakun even at night, they're lower. Day Saturday, Pippa is like, wow, his standards are so high.
We miss this guy, and any Spaniard Kosi will again, we'll go on about beating drums, but there we go.
I think he's back for Middlesbrough, I reckon, so that's what he is.
Yeah, that would be great if he was. David Wilson says, ugly game, key moments in good areas in Wycombe's half and gave the ball away too cheaply. Players not at it tonight, too many lazy stray passes. We didn't implement our style enough. I think that's absolutely spot on from David. Daz H says, honeymoon period over, back to same old, square pegs, round holes. There are elements of this which cross my mind, Pause, whereby Corbyn's quite a shiny new thing, if you like. And there were bits where I thought recently maybe people have twigged, the analysts have twigged certain patterns that we play, and we seem to have been stopped a lot more than maybe we were doing a couple of weeks ago. Like Stoke and Wycombe have found, if you sit in those number 10 areas, then we get the ball out.
I think very much what I said about honeymoon period is absolutely bob on. We came in at pre-season, did Carlos, so literally nobody will have seen any style of play. I mean, it shocked us when we were at Norwich first match of the season. We came out and played against Norwich, and we all thought, wow, look at the change in this. But with all the technology and analytical people now at clubs, even at championship level, it doesn't take long for other people to sniff you out, and all I need to do is look at an heat map for a couple of games and see where we play, and you quickly come to realise that we're sitting on a podcast now crying out for his right back to come back because he's his best attacking option and the guy who makes the team tick. And a right back, really? All right, yeah, full-backs these days in modern game do have a big influence on football games, but you shouldn't be praying that your right back's going to be fit in hope that you might be able to play a little bit better football. You'd be looking at your centre midfielders or your number 10, to make that happen, and we just don't have that at the moment. And I think it's spot on. The honeymoon period's gone. Coupled with a load of games, not being able to work with the squad. Normally you play Saturday, you've got at least 5 days of full training there to be able to work on stuff, and we just can't. And I think Kosi, you might have put it on Twitter that you said that you'd watched a few games over the course of the weekend, and the quality is sort of slowly getting worse, because it's not just Town. We can.
Zinedine Zidane said it today.
The quality is so bad. There's too many. They're asking. All right, yeah, the elite athletes and stuff like that, but they're not going to get any better because they're that knackered. By the time we get to Christmas, I dread to think what the last couple of games before Christmas will be like, because all teams in Championship, unless they've got like a proper, 24-man squad where everyone's on a level par, they're going to be horrendous, and they're going to get injured, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I don't really like to cry poor-tail for footballers at all, because they get paid a lot of money and all that sort of stuff. But it's physically demanding, and
the biggest squads, mate, are going to come to the fall. Look at Norwich now; they're rolling, mate. They can change their team about. We can't. But you know what, Matt? You said they're 1 winning 7. Don't feel like that for me. I sense a bit of doom and gloom knocking about. I don't feel like I'm watching a 1 winning 7 team. I feel really optimistic.
But you are, Kosi.
I thought on Saturday, if we'd have had a goalkeeper in the team, we'd have won. We'd have won, or at least drawn at Stoke, who've been on.
I think Stoke could have probably
tonight we could have won it. Tonight we could have won it. Well, I know you could have, should have, and all that, but it don't feel like it to me this season. I'm feeling optimistic.
I know what you're saying, but the Stoke thing for me is, they had their third choice goalkeeper, and I'm sure they'd say their first choice one saved Eitings first.
I just think we know August 2021, mate, when we'll see the best of the Huddersfield Town. We will do. I know. I don't want to wish my life away, but maybe I do, because COVID will have gone, and then we'll be back in stadium. But we know what we need to do. We're asking players to play that. Stearman and what have you. Let's name him. Stearman can't adapt to this style. Johnny Ogg, we love him, but is he going to be like a fluid, beautiful Huddersfield Town taking us forward into a playoffs? No. Campbell, better days have gone. We know what we need to do. The big question is, Phil and the board, can we do it? Or can Carlos bring the kids in? Because at the moment, he doesn't seem to trust them, which is an interesting one. And, that's the thing I just wonder.
We need more B team games, mate. We've only had a couple in the last few months, so, 2.
I think that's an interesting point, though, because, and sorry to keep talking, because I feel like I've been talking loads, so I'll shut up a bit after this and let you guys have a bit of the thing. But the new ethos, we're bringing the youth through. Well, when you can bring 5 subs on, this is the absolute perfect opportunity to start doing that. Do it now. Do it early. Why wait? Why wait till after Christmas and then say, oh, come on, young guys, B team games and all that? Bollocks, get them on. If they can't go to Wycombe and get roughed up by a few stronger players, then there shouldn't be nowhere near contention, because you can't just play nice, tappy football. I can't imagine B team games. You'll have players like Akinfenwa running around and smashing you about and stuff like
Championship
that.
games, you shouldn't have players like Akinfenwa running around.
Well, no, you shouldn't. If it's just Sunday league, you shouldn't. Bloody hell, my 6-year-old kept saying, "Good, lose that big fat guy up front." But do you know what I mean? It's the reason why he's not playing these young players is because they're not. It's going to be too physical for him. Then what's the point? It's go play at Canal Side in a B team game where you can pass
I agree.
Get them ready.
This wasn't the game, Matt. This wasn't the game post tonight. I agree with you, Matt. To me, you want a gamble game tonight. I've always said, that we've gone to the end of that Birmingham game when we had a disagreement where you said we should have held on, and I kind of got why we were pushing forward. Tonight, I just didn't feel it was. I know Dares wins, but I just felt Wycombe were winning the arm wrestle at that time. I didn't think
it was too physical for me. It was just too physical. The conditions weren't right.
Middlesbrough
Birmingham probably arguably could have been a better game.
That 71-year-old's going to have his army ready on Saturday. We're going to be up for it again.
Let's finish these. Let's finish reading some of these out. So, Chris Watson says, "Still, we win a game and we shoot up the league a little. It's poor and a threadbare squad, but still better than last season. Just about. Diakabi has to be some sort of mad contract thing to be playing him." Richard Crowther, think our players all need an aspirin after that game. I think I've got neck ache after that game, and I watched it on TV. Daniel Sykes thought we missed Toffolo bombing forward in the final 15 minutes. Obvious expected tiredness. We moved to a 3-5-2, didn't we? Hogg joined the back 3, which was interesting. I thought we actually looked a bit better for 10 minutes when we did that, but then Wycombe adapted again, didn't they? And Gareth Ainsworth, to be fair, he's been there since 2012, and I think he's a very good, savvy manager. And I think if he had the players, he would play better football.
What about them jeans? He looks like a rock star. Well, he is, isn't he?
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's a proper. Well, I'd take a tight pair of chinos over the rock star look any day. I think in my manager.
I think he's still registered as a player. Their commentator was saying.
They do a job. Probably, all you have to do.
Him and Akinfenwa have
probably get a game in this season.
They can cross the ball better than Diakabi anyway.
Right, yeah. So going on, John Smith says, "Hi everyone. The only positive from a drab and dreary game is the performance of Ryan Schofield. High level of potential. Miles Dixon, Pereira was lucky to let 4 in on Saturday. Technique and reactions non-existent. We keep getting told Dehaney's a great prospect. Don't see it myself. Not really that young. I remember Flo Hadjianai, people kept saying he was a good young prospect until he was like 25 years old, and it feels like Dehaney's got a little bit of that in him as well. But yeah, that'll do, I think. HTFC says Kosi saying how it is spot on, and someone says,
I've just had a text from Bradford fan saying, "What's Danny Cowley up to?" Mate, I'll tell you what he's up to.
He goes there, I will sub.
Quest Soccer AM this morning with Philip Schofield. He'll be on that tomorrow.
Someone's asking me why I peep out of the corner of the camera here, and the reason I do that is because this is like our utility room, and my missus puts all the kids' bloody toys everywhere. So if I tilt my camera back, you'll just see.
Yeah, cheer us up, Matt. Read us some Division 2 scores, League 2. How Bradford got them tonight? Come on.
I don't think they did very well, mate. I don't think we did very well, but let's focus on Huddersfield Town.
Oh, sorry, mate.
The Stoke game, I don't think really we need to go into much Stoke game. We mentioned it in passing a little bit. Anyone want to delve into that?
Jonathan Ogg was playing like centre-back there as well, wasn't he? He was so far deep. He was really in there.
He got pushed back, didn't he? Because he was getting pressed by Powell. I think he just kept going deeper to get the ball, and it didn't really work. Ideally, what you want is to rotate with Eiting, and they did, but a little bit late, I think.
To me, it was a tale of two Campbells, mate. Tyrese, who loved playing us against New Year's Day, came back. He was brilliant, mate. We couldn't handle him. Fraser Campbell, one offside. That was his contribution for 90 minutes. But every time he got ball, he had a threat. That I just wish we had someone like that, a bit more of a pacey kind of option. And I know Campbell in his days fast, but he ain't now, is he? But
I think the Stoke game and the Wycombe game are chalk. Sorry, Matt. I think they're chalk and cheese, aren't they? Like the Stoke game was entertaining. I mean, I was tearing my hair out, but it was an entertaining game. Wycombe game wasn't that exciting, but I think again, I think the difference with that is Stoke were open and were trying to get us, and that means they left space in behind, and like that's how we got our goals. I mean, the third one, I don't know why you'd leave 6'5" Naby Sarr unmarked from 6 yards for a header, but like. That was our goals from a bit of quality from Eiting, and I suppose I do agree with Kosi in the sense that we could have won the Stoke game, but I think it's just that is going to be for me one of the most frustrating games in the season because all those goals for us really are pretty much avoidable. And I suppose the positive from that is it's easier to fix defensive issues than it is to fix goal scoring, but. We just seem to flip and flop, don't we? Like we can score 3 goals in one game, we can't score any goals in another. And again, I think it's just for
me, Brady. John Obi McKelmett and Stephen Fletcher. How much money must they be on? They bossed it on Saturday. They were class. Their experience, but that's what you pay that money for, and that as well. They were brilliant. McKell was sensational, mate.
Stoke are run by a betting company, aren't they? So that's the thing. It's like you think of the teams in this league, like say Norwich and Watford and Bournemouth and Forest, like their squads, they're just like look at our squad compared to theirs, and especially like we say, game every 3 days, it's gonna take its time. What I will say, Kosi, because I agree we might be being negative, it's more exciting than it was under Cowley. I know we've banged on about the circumstances and stuff like that, but maybe not so much this game just happened. But I don't know about you, but I look at our fixtures and I think they're tough. But I still think, well, maybe we could get something. Whereas I didn't really feel that under the Cowley. So again, it's a season of progress. So just as long as we stay up, I think that's kind of what we want.
That was saying like foot through it. But it feels like to me, anyone who puts a foot through it is going to get a fine. I mean, Bakuna put one like into the stand. That's the only thing I just kind of saw that were anything ever do. I mean, their commentators were like they were getting mad. They were proper old school because they must obviously been brought up in lower division football for a lot of years and like. God, what are they missing about with these corners for Huddersfield? What a waste of time that was. Look at that there, they're just passing. I can't believe Schofield's doing that again. It's like, mate, that's how we play, and people just going to get used to it. The one thing I worry about a little bit, and it sounds like we might come on it in a bit, with the fans coming back, well, probably not for us in Tier 3, but I just wonder when people, bloody get on with it, sir, bloody. I wonder if people's going to change. That is going to be fascinating to see, mate. Fascinating.
I sort of had this. I sort of put a little something. I put a sort of couple of tweets out after Stoke, and just to sort of gauge opinion on how there's that fine line, and the performances versus a result, and end of day football is the results business. And just going back to what you're saying there, Kosi, about when we do get back in stadium, if we're not, it's all right playing a nice style of football and winning. But equally, you can play terrible football and win and just be as happy. And I was just sort of thinking back to, Cowley versus Corcoran, because obviously chalk and cheese.
Sheffield Wednesday season ticket pass. Season card at Hillsborough.
I was thinking about Stoke, and when we played Stoke last season, and we came away 1-0 winners. And it would have been very interesting to speak to someone who went to that Stoke match. I know we couldn't go when we lost 4-3, but if you'd have gone to watch that Stoke match and come out 1-0 winners after a pretty terrible match, I can guarantee people will be more happy than walking out seeing a decent, entertaining match but losing 4-3. And I just think, it's all right whilst we're all sat at home. You can turn your TV on and you're there and you're at home. But if you've spent 50, 60 quid to go to a match, you've scored 3 but you've let 4 in, you're coming away pissed off. If you've
say that, I remember that.
No, do you know what I mean? Like, look
that
at Chelsea.
Slightly different circumstances.
I know they're not mutually exclusive, and you can you can be entertained both ways. But end of the day, football's all about winning, and if you're a fan and you've won, you're happy. If you've played well and lost, you're not. And I think that's bottom line with it all, really.
You are, mate, but I remember the Lou Macari season. Do you remember that? I mean, you're probably about 2 in them days, Poss. But that season, mate, we overachieved. We overachieved, ridiculous, mate, with that prime time recruitment, Leon Knight, etc. But the crowd never took to Lou Macari, and I thought, how the hell are we in this playoff semi? That's incredible what he's done. They hated him, mate. They couldn't wait to get him out because they didn't like the football, which I didn't think it was that bad, but people hated it. What a funny bunch of Huddersfield
fans. Look at Warnock, though. Yeah, Warnock.
Yeah, Huddersfield fans are weird. I just don't know. I know what you're saying. It's going to be fascinating to see when we get back in what people.
The thing is, we're never, with this squad we've got, we're never going to win every game, you know. So, and I think it comes down to what you prefer. Do you prefer losing with a bit of style, or do you prefer losing 1-0 and it being drab? You know, they're not. You know, everything's not mutually exclusive. But I'd rather lose 4-3 at Stoke and it be entertaining than lose 1-0 to a scrambly 88th minute winner, you know, after hanging on for 88 minutes. And okay, there's a reason why teams with small squads and lower budgets play a negative direct style, and that's to try and cut out any mistakes. And we're making mistakes aplenty at the minute, and there's value in it, but there's no sense to throw out the whole new style because we've got 1 win in 7, you know, at the minute. It makes
don't get me wrong, man. I'm not suggesting that we you know, chuck the style and one of the points earlier wrong. I think what I'm saying is I think it's the style is the style. It might have been on Twitter where I responded to someone who made a very similar point. This is going to be the style, so we have to just get used to it. The key for me is the recruitment, especially in January. We just need to get a few in, and then, like as Kosi says, start of 2021. I think don't get me wrong, you get it up, and I'm getting it up now because it's football and you love it. But actually, if you take a step back and tomorrow, as I think Brady said, it's a transition season, and if we all just relax and just say, do you know what, whatever happens this season, does it actually matter? As long as we stay up, to be fair, that's all we can ask for in it, because a lot of us said we wouldn't do that. So when you take a step back and actually analyse it like that, and you sort of take all the emotion out of it after a match and all that, as long as we can do that and recruit properly, go properly at 2021, I suppose you can say we're happy. It's just annoying because you see us play games like the Norwich game, and then you see us play games like tonight, and it's like, wow, how can that be the same set of players? You know, it's weird.
You should think back to Brentford earlier next season. We were blown away. Brentford only 11th, well, they want to start a play, so they're not doing like the what. But I remember watching that Brentford game thinking, bloody hell, we are, like you said, we might still end up near bottom pods, but I just think where we were then and where we are now, the big question is, it's over to you, Phil, in January, and I'm just not convinced that the club, it's hard because we need to get rid of your Diakabes and, you know, Stephen got another year and Pritchards and people like that. But I just think we've just got to stick in there at the moment. We're getting, like you said, Brady, what we saw tonight is also talent at the moment, a good, bad and the ugly and what have you. But patience is not great with the fans in football. No. But it just don't feel like a win in 7. I just feel that we're getting there. We're nearly there. I feel optimistic. I still get frustrated, but I feel we've made some great progress. But then again, I can maybe understand people now who think we should be beating like kind of Wycombe, but they were on a good run before the game. You look at Brentford didn't beat them.
Only lost 1 in 5, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's a terrible point. It's just it was a hard watch, but not a bad point. That's the draw that line.
I think you lads are going to be disappointed in January. I don't think we're going to get many players in. I think we'll get Aaron's, and that's about it. But I'm sure we will talk about that for many matches.
I think it'll be Aaron's.
I think you're probably right there, Brady. And it depends on who's pulling strings, doesn't it? Is it a case of manager wants and chairman won't get, or is it a case of manager doesn't feel that he needs anyone? And if I were Phil Hodgkinson, I'd be making that extremely clear as to which one it is if we don't bring people in, because you know what people are like, they'll be straight down his throat if we don't see 5 or 6 come in. If Corberan feels that we've got enough, shout it from rooftops, Phil, because if not, mate, you're going to get a lot of stick.
Yeah, I don't think
Tier 2 though, guys. Get us in stadium. Tier 2, 2,000 army, innit?
2,000
We're the 2,000 army.
Yeah, I think that's it really with Stoke. Move on to Kosi, but anyone else got anything with Stoke? The only thing I'd say, Pos, is like a lot of, I think it's Jurgen Klopp and someone else have always said, you know, in terms of plan B, they always say plan B is to do plan A better. And I get that.
Yeah, I do get it. I have a lot of time for this new style. And just before you move on, I think one of the things that might have sort of maybe got me probably excited, because I seem a little bit annoyed by it all, is the way that the club maybe did this new transition into Corberan from Cowley, because everything just seems to be a straight comparison at the moment to Cowley. And I think that the way that the club bigged up this new style, this new ethos, we're going to play this style of football, we're going to bring all these youth players through, and they probably made it out to be a little bit more exciting than what it actually will be in the short term. And I think that might be why.
I think that's just the way of the world, isn't it? The way of the world is you've got to try and get people on board, and the way to do it is to whip it up it's like politics, and you need your whip, don't you, and your chief whip, and that was that's what we went for at the time. But I think it will get better in the long term. But there will be days like today, and there will be days like Brentford away, Kosi, where things just don't seem to go right, and Stoke, where our defensive shape looks all over the place, because the way that we engage, defenders engage out of the shape, and that can make us look incredibly ragged at times, and that's where players can run in behind. And I think that's the key for me, and that's what Corberan seems to be doing, is building from the back. And I think Naby Sarr might need a new partner, I think, before too long, someone who can engage, in that one-on-one area and has a little bit more speed, I think. But
it's just in the young players. It's
rare as rocking
interesting to me. It's interesting to me, Matt. I mean, you could say, O'Brien's hardly an old boy, is he? But O'Brien and Aiting, obviously, still young players. But it's the next level, like you say, Marty Daly's. It will be fascinating to see. It sounds like, to me, training ground, these guys have got to win Carlos over, so it's not a matter you're just going to get slung in for half an hour like Phillips tonight and stuff like that. Marnie Edmonds-Green on the bench and that as well. I mean, our centre-halves have hardly been covering themselves in glory, but this is the good thing, that hopefully they're going to look and think, if I impress this guy, I get in. I'm fascinated to see if that trust is going to be won, and that'll be one to watch, certainly moving forward, because I agree with you, Brady. I don't think we're going to see much business in January, really, because the usual thing we're trotted out by expensive players, and we know we've got expensive luxuries now that we need bombing out.
I'll be honest, I think that's what we'll try and do. I think there'll be players that are coming to the end of their contract, like Pritchard, like Diakabi, maybe Mbenza, maybe Bakuna, that they'll just try and say, look, we've only got 6 months left to get money on these guys. We're going to give it a go. And that's the worry, that we take a number of cut price offers just to get money and wages out. Then, all of a sudden you're 3 or 4 players down, first team players down, and they need replacing in January when things are a little bit fragile as it is. So it's going to be a tough balancing job for everybody involved, for sure. But Brady, unless you've got another point to make,
possibly. No, not really. I think obviously we're touching on January. We'll get Aaron's. I think it's going to be a long season. But the thing is, I don't know about you guys, but as frustrated as I am after that game, I could see us winning, going unbeaten in 5. I think this league, like, it's like we've touched on. It's just, I think it's going to be such a poor league this season because the players
COVID league, mate. COVID league, it's COVID-19. Zidane on about it today in Real Madrid. He says that the quality of the theatre is non-existent. I totally agree with him on that. At any level you're watching now, the game's not as good. Premier League, mate, Man City, they're not like the what.
No. I suppose it's an argument, isn't it? Because you could class this as entertainment, and like I want to entertain tonight, but like I think it's worth the question, isn't it? And I'm sure we'll come on to it with the fans being allowed in. But like I like Pozza says, I don't feel much sympathy for footballers, but like they're not our like plaything. Like I know they are people, and like they're going to get injured, and especially in our team with a new style and how intense it is, like. They're going to get injured, and you're putting players' welfare at stake here, and we're not getting a good result because of it. It's not like we're seeing great games.
It's an interesting one, Brady, because like people have been, obviously the 5 subs have come in, and Jurgen Klopp's been very vocal with his 12:30 kickoffs, but people have been saying, hang on a minute, Jurgen, you're only putting 2 subs on. But I suppose the difference is that people look at Liverpool's bench thinking, well, that Minamino, is it, and some other guys and that, they can come on. You look at our bench, we haven't got that, so it's all right having 5 subs, but if the quality, you can't just be slinging guys on just to get them games and stuff. I just think we're just going to have to put up with it. It's a COVID season. And the worst thing is, bloody Qatar World Cup's around the corner. So that's going to be another one where it's going to be packed in. I
don't think our town players will have to worry about Qatar World Cup.
No, but what? You're just going to get Saturday, Tuesday. It's incredible, isn't it? 9 games in 31 days. That's ridiculous. And I know, they paid that much and what have you. Yeah, but to me, it's just like fast food. I love a burger and chips, but do you want to have burger and chips every day?
Yeah.
No, and I think we're just going to have to put up with it and up and down and stuff. Norwich will probably win league, mate, now because, Watford as well. Big squads. Ours are like nowhere near.
I'm going to hide my KFC wrappers from under the desk as well. That's so then But yeah, so 5 minutes left, lads. We'll call it in 5 minutes. The last item on the agenda I've got, unless you guys have got anything that you want to bring up, is fans backing Kosi. 4,000 for Tier 1 areas, which, don't think we'll see that. 2,000 in Tier 2 and 0 for the likes of Scruffs in West Yorkshire, by the looks of it. Does this give... And David Hartrick put this on Twitter, so I'll source my question if you like. And does this give an unfair advantage to teams that have crowds? Because, people in the ground say, 1,000 people, I think David might have said that, 1,000 people would make a difference to the way players are playing and reacting. 4,000, say, for example, Wycombe down there, 4,000, I don't know what their attendance is, but they get 4,000 in
9,000, yeah. Yeah,
4,000 at Wycombe. That's a boost to them. And then we've got none. We're playing in front of one man, and we're playing in front of the paramedics and, Phil and everyone up in the stand. What is there an unfair advantage to be, or is there an advantage and disadvantage to be gained from this, do you think? Who am I going to pick? Pause. You look like you've got wind or you're thinking of something.
I just shivered me. I say conservatory and it's bloody freezing in here. I think it's a fair point to be fair. Yeah, it's a fair point to be fair that it makes. I don't think in your bigger stadiums having hardly any fans in will make that much difference. I think did they trial it at Norwich? They let remember in, but were it 1,000 or 2,000? And I remember watching it on. I think it was on Match at Day or highlights or something like that, and it weren't. They were all really spread out, and it would. Or it seemed to be a bit like a pre-season atmosphere. I think Norwich even scored, and it weren't the manic celebrations that you'd usually see. I can't imagine, much chanting going on and all that side of it. But it's still a bit of pressure to perform in it for your players. So
2009, mate, one man made a difference in the Peterborough end, in the prawn sandwich end, didn't he, Mr. Kosmala? One Huddersfield fan sat in there giving Mr. Turnant hell. So if there's a couple of thousand doing that.
You know what though, mate? I think it could have the opposite. I don't know about you, but if I'm going anywhere really, and someone's abusing me and having a go at me, it makes me more determined. Some of these games, I think they're lower qualities because I think your average players are not. They need something to motivate them. I just think sometimes it's really weird, but getting abused or shouted at or something, some crowd noise, I think you might see a bit of a difference. I don't think it's going to make too much difference in encouragement, but I just think, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, I think from an advantage. I thought you were going to say something like, Matt, isn't it a good thing it happening? But it's the big
not
question
for us,
is...
Not in West Yorkshire, I don't think.
Also, can you... I think you're a man of the South Stand, sorry, Brady, but it's better than anything, but how the hell... you think of the shitstorm that when in the Premier League, who gets allocated which tickets for the away games? They were all hell breaking loose, and home games. So how the hell are going to manage 4,000, 2,000 or what have you? But are you bothered, mate? Because
I personally no, I don't think it's worthwhile. I think it's not going to be the same as it, let's be honest. Depends how. I suppose it all depends on how they allocate the seats, and if they're just 2,000 spread around the whole stadium, then that's ridiculous. I do think it is a bit ridiculous on the how many you can have in as well, because imagine going to Old Trafford with 4,000 in, and then somewhere like Wycombe with 4,000. Would it be better to do it on a percentage basis? I don't know.
I think if you're in the same family. I think if you're in the same family or the same bubble, you can sit together. But if you're not, then you have to separate. I think it's the household rules.
It just COVID rules change from one day to next. You can go see folk at Christmas now, but you can't see them tomorrow. I don't know. It's all just as and when they make it up, I think, as they go along. So I don't know. I think advantage terms, I don't think there'll be a massive advantage gained by having a few thousand fans in.
No, I think it's. We've seen that fans can slightly influence decisions, but I don't think it'll be enough. But I think lower down it'll make a big difference. Like we talk about Wycombe, 4,000's I think it'll be a big difference. Half. I suppose it depends really. It depends how much you want to moan about it. But if you play I think if we play that Wycombe game with 4,000 fans again, you don't know what's going on. But I think that's even more of a tricky game for us. Whereas we can't, if we can't do that for Huddersfield, I think you could argue.
How can anyone moan about being back in the football ground? Jesus.
No, I would. Man. I can't wait to go back in. No, but I'm just saying,
I know what you mean.
It will make a difference. I think particularly League One and difference, but I'm not so sure about a Championship, unless it's a really small team, basically. But yeah, I don't know. I'll if I can get a ticket to town, I'll be going.
What I thought was quite interesting was just that, particularly for those grounds in Tier 2 that can then hold 2,000. For some clubs, that could be more of a more of a burden than it will be a kind of an opportunity, in that the cost to them for having to open stadiums up, badge stewards, etc., the 2,000 fans kind of negates whatever kind of benefit they may get, assuming obviously all the tickets have been sold already for season ticket holders, etc. So I think from what I've seen, clubs are not necessarily enamoured by the prospect, and they give me kind of probably quite a pessimistic outlook on life currently. But one, I remain to be convinced it'll actually happen. We've been here before and it never really materialised in the way we expected. And two, even if it does happen, it wouldn't surprise me if we're back in a situation in kind of mid to late January whereby we're back to where we are currently. And I know that's quite a pessimistic outlook on life, and hopefully that's not the case. But I'm kind of not really wanting to. I don't really have an opinion on it too much. I think it'll probably all kind of what we were talking about now will be different again in kind of 3, 5, 6 weeks time.
No
way. Just coming to you, because it would, you sort of say you're desperate to go back. Would you sacrifice? And if they said, look, there's no fans from now till end of season, but next season, fill your boots, everyone in.
Yeah, would you, mate? Because I'll go non-league, mate. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. I'm willing to sacrifice because the non-league you don't obviously notice, and if it's 400, 600 and stuff, I get in my football fix. Yeah, it's not the same as town, but 100%. The away fans thing is a big thing. I mean, I've loved it in the south, and obviously with that divide, and the fact it's going to be silence when someone's kind of scores and what have you and stuff. Yeah, definitely I'd take that pause. And like you said there, these changes now and that many times Boris on his stuff, then God, you just don't know. But can you imagine going to a town match with 2,000 against who we played, whatever? It's just going to be
crazy. Like Leeds Road days, of course. Back in Leeds Road, man. 2,000 rattling around.
It's going to be strange, man. Yeah.
All right, guys. I think what we'll do is we'll just read out a couple of messages at the end, and then we'll call it a night. James Whittaker, a friend of Mr. Frost. I'm sure he's got some good stories about Mr. Frost as well. It says that
no, he doesn't.
Pantomime season.
A couple of naked shenanigans. Apparently, it's not the first time, according to Mr. Whittaker. But no, Academy players have not featured and obviously not seen as able to make a difference or plug gaps in the squad yet. No investment either. Dehaney got picked, and he's 22. Another relegation scrap awaits. Proud Terriers has just joined in very late to the party, I'm afraid, mate. And he's I don't think Ryan's overly happy if it is Ryan. He says tonight's not really acceptable, poor, but we knew how difficult it would be, but we played right into Wycombe's hands, which we no doubt did. And Dear Carb is not he's not Dear Carb, his number one fan, shall we say. And Pete Swallow on that says if we end in tier 3, we won't have any fans in, and we've covered that one. And some ogre on there called Dan Porritt says thanks for your comment.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.